This video will cover section 8.2 from the Math for Business and Social Science math course, Math 1324. So we left off on example 4 last class, and we're going to continue on it. Well, we didn't even start it. So example 3, we created our own Venn diagram by using the information that was provided to us here. And this was a simple one because we only had two sets, two circles. Now for the next one, we're going to have three circles, and in fact, the first two are already placed here. Actually, the first two steps. You can see them here, but we're going to create our own from scratch. Now, first of all, I want to tell you that this problem talks about some websites for some particular journals. Now, at the beginning of the problem, they referred to the Wall Street Journal, but then as the problem goes on, they just call it journal. And that took me a while to understand because at first I thought they were talking about 4 different journals, but Wall Street Journal and journal are the same thing. Then we have a second one, Business Week. So we could see that appear here, here, and here on our questions. And then our third one will be the Fortune magazine, but here we're talking about their website. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start writing our numbers, but we're going to start from the bottom up. So the last statement, I guess, it says, out of those 67 business major students at a university, determine which business-focused media websites the students regularly visited. The results are summarized below. So out of those 67 students, that will be our universe, or the universal set. 9 of those students visited all 3 websites, so that's why we place our 9 here, because this is the intersection of all 3 of the websites. Then our next statement from the bottom, it says 13 visited. Well, first of all, let's assign names to our sets. So we're just going to keep the same as our picture here. So this will be the Business Week. This will be the Fortune magazine or website. And here we'll have the Wall Street Journal. Okay, so 9 visited all 3. The next statement says 13 visited Business Week and Fortune. So instead of placing my 13 here, what I need to do is actually subtract 13 and then subtract 9 from 13. And so that will give us 4. Why do I need to do that? Well, because if I was to put 13 there, then I will be going over. Because out of those 13, 9 of them like the 3 websites or visited all 3 websites. So we put a 4 here. Now we're gonna have to do the same thing for every double intersection. The only triple intersection was the 9. The next 2 journals are Wall Street Journal and Fortune magazine. So for that intersection, it says 11. However, we need to subtract 9 from it, from the triple intersection. And so that 2 will be placed right here at the intersection of the Wall Street Journal and Fortune magazine. Now, if you count 2 plus 9, you get the total 11 that they're talking about. Now, for our third double intersection, we have that 12 students visited Business Week and the Wall Street Journal. But we already know that 9 of them visited all 3 websites, so then we need to subtract the 9 so that we don't have any repetition going on. And so that 3 will be placed here. Now we move on to the next statement, and it says 46 visited Fortune. Now, out of those 46, instead of placing them here, we need to subtract the 4, the 9, and the 2. Here, here, and here. And so this will become 46 minus 15, and that will give us 31. So the 31, instead of putting the whole 46 here, we must replace that with 31. Now for our next statement, we have 20 students visited the Wall Street Journal. However, instead of us putting 20 here, we need to subtract the 3 that we have here, the 9, and the 2. And that will become, I will add the negatives first. So that will be 20 minus 14, and that would be 6. So instead of placing all 20 who visited the Wall Street Journal here, we need to put only 6. Now, if we were to add 6 plus 2 plus 9 plus 3, we will get the 20 that visited the Wall Street Journal. Now, our last statement here, we have that 21 visited Business Week. However, we already know that we cannot put 21 here. We're going to have to subtract, we will be doing this operation, 21 minus 4, 9, and 3. So that will be, if I add those numbers, 4, 9, and 3, I will get 16. So 21 minus 16, and that will give me 5. So those 5 students will go there. And hold on, I believe I did that wrong. It will not be 5. No, yes, it is 5. I apologize. So let's put that back. It is 5. Okay. Now, if we were to add all the students who visited websites, you will know that only 60 visited websites. So our sample space had a total of 67. So what we could say is that we have another 7 just floating around here in the universe, or the universal set. 7 of them didn't go into any website. So now let's go ahead and answer the questions here. So the first one says, how many students visited none of the websites? We already know that. That is 7. Because that will be 67 minus 60. How many only visited Fortune? And so for that, we have it here. That will be 31. For part C, we have how many visited Business Week and the Journal, but not Fortune. So for Business Week and the Journal, we will be looking at this intersection only, because they clarified they don't want Fortune. If they had asked just Business Week and Journal, we could have said 3 plus 9, which is 12. But they specified take Fortune out of the picture, and so because of that, the answer is just 3. And that is the end of this problem. Now, the next problem is very similar. You could pause the video if you want to, so you could copy the whole diagram. The next problem here is very similar, but it is about patients having reported certain symptoms. Now, the universal set here is going to include 100. And so the first thing I will do, of course, is draw my sets. We have 3, so we have to have a triple intersection. And we're going to just follow. By the way, this is the answer. But of course, you need to know where all those numbers came from. So the 3 symptoms are fever, chills, and headache. And so what I'm going to do is, of course, start from the bottom up. So let's start here with the first 3 who thought they had the flu but did not report fever, chills, or headache. So those will be like the ones outside the sets, the ones that will just be floating there inside the universal set. We have 35 of them reported all three, so that will be our triple intersection here. We have that 49 reported both chills and headache. However, from those 49, we must subtract that triple intersection. And so if we do that, 49 minus 35, we will obtain 14. So we're going to have to put 14 here at the intersection of chills and headache. So it is 14 only because we subtract the 35 of the triple intersection. So that will go here. Then we move on to 47 reported fever and a headache. So out of those 47, we must subtract the 35 of the triple intersection, and so that will give us 12. So fever and headache, that will be here, 12. Now our next statement says 55 reported both fever and chills. So we have 55, we subtract the triple intersection, and that will give us 20. So that will go here at the intersection of fever and chills. Now we're going to move on to the other numbers. So 67 reported only a headache. However, out of those 67, we must subtract this 12, 35, and 14. And from there, we will obtain 6. So only a headache, no double or triple symptoms, only a headache, 6 people. Then we move on to 72 people reported to have chills. So 72, but we need to subtract, of course, 14, 35, and 20, and that will give us 3. So just for chills, 3 people. And finally, for fever, we will have 74 people, but we need to subtract 20, 12, and 35, our double and triple intersections. And that will give us 7. So 7 will go here. Only reported fever and nothing else. And this concludes the video. So I hope to see you in class.